Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Bey-Ling Shaw from California State University, Fullerton, and it's my honor this evening to be here with Richard Louie. How are you doing today, Richard?
It's great to see you, Bey-Ling.
Great. So, Richard, we have so much to talk about, and I'm just going to try to be quick while being thorough. You have been an MSNBC dayside anchor since September 2010, and before that, you spent 5 years at CNN Worldwide, including CNN Headline News as the solo anchor of the 10 a.m. hour of Morning Express. So, in that role, you were the first Asian American male to anchor a daily national news broadcast in the United States. So, if we could start with talking a little bit about being the first, which is something that I personally have a lot of conflicting feelings about. How do you think being the first Asian American male news anchor has impacted you or impacted other members of our community?
Bey-Ling, it was one of those things that my colleague, Melissa Long, when I told her, hey, by the way, I'm going to be moving on to anchor over at CNN Headline News, she said, well, Richard, you know. And I was like, no, I don't know. And she said, well, and it was in the back of my mind, but certainly not in the forefront of, not in the front of my brain. And I guess whatever, when you were talking about that, the first thing that comes to mind is why? Why in 2007? Why do we have so few today? I can probably count on less than one hand the number of folks that are Asian American male and anchoring on a national level. And that's a problem. What happened 15 years ago is still happening today. And so I'm not conflicted about the idea of it. I'm conflicted with the dynamics around it.
When people think of representation in news media or any kind of media, often I think the first thing that comes to mind is representation that is visible, that is in front of the camera, that is on TV, that is in the show. And what you're speaking to is a different kind of representation, which we are also lacking, which is representation in the halls of power, representation at the tables where decisions get made, right? Because if more people gave thought to the diversity pipeline and supply and demand at the higher levels where they could actually make a difference, maybe we'd see faster results.
Yes. Look at the boardrooms.
Yeah.
Look at the CEOs that you're alluding to something I agree with. Not there. And look at those who are running all the major organizations and industries. Not there. Way underrepresented, underpaid, held back. It is through and through an issue. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I agree.
Well, there are some organizations like Asian American Futures where members of our community who have resources or who have access to resources are working together. Gold House is another example of pooling resources together to kind of leverage up members of the community. And I think it's organizations like that that really give me a lot of hope for the future, right?
The most important thing that's happening right now and over the last 2 years is a renaissance of the CBOs across the country that are looking at and focusing on the intersectionality of our country. And I'm heartened by the groups that over the years that I've been able to meet. And you're right, it is the CBO that if you're a Fortune 500, if you're a Russell 2000 and you've got some money you want to invest into how do we fix this issue of inequity in any community, look at your CBO. Look at the community-based organization where you are at or where you want to be at. Volunteer, join their boards, donate. That's the real work. It's not just money. It's smart money. And The smart money model is what we need right now because it's about the relationships and the understandings of the gaps and what we understand to be the culture of one group and of America. So yeah,
Yeah.
I am heartened by the CBOs that are popping up in every major city in the country. And we've had a lot since the Atlanta spa shootings. We've had a lot during the last 2 years of violence. And it is a renaissance. It is heartening. It is encouraging. And I, I, I just want to meet them all.
Yeah.
Right? It's just they've done so much.
In this AAPI Heritage Month, it's our opportunity to share our culture, and it's also an opportunity for allies and accomplices to take extra time to learn about AAPI culture. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, for people trying to better understand our culture during this Heritage Month, can you talk a little bit about that, about why it seems sometimes in our cultural background or heritage, there are things that happen that seem so important, and yet we don't want to talk about them?
Yeah, not wanting to talk about these stories might be for various reasons. We are afraid. We are humble, or not we as a group, but you might be afraid, you might be humble, you might be scared. You may not have the tools. All of these things are dynamic and I think existent in our community, just like many other communities. Um, the one thing on the flip side is, do you celebrate in your community or in your family standing out? Do you celebrate speaking up for the truth? Do you celebrate collegiality in that expression? If you speak out, do I support you, Bey-Ling? Or do I go, oh boy, she's kind of, talking a lot? Or what about Richard? Boy, he loves to toot his horn a lot, doesn't he? And I think it is, I'm no sociologist, but I always try to answer the question the way that it's asked, the best of my ability and my 2 cent opinion. It is for those who did not have English multiple generations before, exposed to that immigrant group or to that origin country, it is more difficult. I mean, if you look at those from areas that have not seen, and I'll bring up some that have not. I mean, Cambodia, Laos, China. There's 3 examples of countries in Asia that didn't. Malaysia, who have not had a lot of exposure necessarily. Malaysia has more English exposure. We look at India, you look at Korea, you look at Japan and the Philippines, who have had the unfortunate exposures sometimes to things as severe as colonialism. That the benefit today is the assimilative arc has been heightened, peaked, right? Increased in steepness. And all of these things come back to why today, multi generations in, why or why not would you not want to confront what fact is? And it is a lot of things baked in. I do believe that's part of it, because if you look at the ability for our South Asian brothers and sisters to do so well in politics and in media, which is definitely a raise the hand kind of industries, they do well, I do believe, because of the difficult times before, right? Colonialism in South Asia was like, but on the flip side, that assimilative process is 100 years old and more. So there's a lot of deep answers to the question, why don't we stand up? And why don't we value that stand up quality? If you were to make that an overall generalization, I do know what you're talking about, though.
So in our last 2 minutes, Richard, what suggestions would you give to our viewers about how to go about fulfilling that lifelong quest?
Oh, well, you're better equipped to answer that question. I would just say, based on my experience of going through the book writing process and my own caregiving and understanding why I would want to do it, um, would be to spend a lot of time writing down who you are and where you come from, what your name is and where the name came from, um, where your parents came from, why they made the decisions they did. Why did they decide to move there? Why did they choose that profession? Why decide to get married? Why decide to have you? Um, and writing it down has been so reflective uh, for me and so empowering. Um, I reflect back on, like, I write about my grandfather, like, why did he come here? Why did this guy do that? Um, it was a time where he had to come here illegally. It is a time where he bought the name Louis, that he's really a Wong. And, it's because he wanted a better future for himself and for his kids and grandchildren and all of thereafter. And as you know, what I write is I say, thank you, Grandpa. Thank you. Your grandson became a news anchor nationally, and you were a poor farmer from a little town in the south of China. And I would have been that too. He did not want me to be a poor Chinese farmer. And I say, I never met him, but thank you. I'm not a poor Chinese farmer.
Let me close with this. It's been said that we read to understand others and we write to better understand ourselves. And so for our audience, I would just say, read Richard's book so you can understand the heritage that so many members of our communities have, but also write your own book so that your story can be shared and that
Yes.
future generations can thank you, just like Richard and I thank our ancestors for making the decisions that they made that enabled us to be here today to have this very privileged conversation.
I can't thank you enough, Bey-Ling.
Thank you, Richard.